26 haunting small-town horror stories that will haunt you forever. In the heart of a forgotten town, where shadows whispered secrets from the past, the air hung heavy with dread and anticipation. It was the kind of place that refused to let go of its ghosts, where every street corner held a tale that could chill even the bravest souls. Folks said if you listened closely, you could hear the soft cries of the restless spirits, echoing through the empty streets like a haunting lullaby. Maybe that's why they called it Grave Hollow. The old church, once the pride of the town, stood like a crooked tooth, its steeple reaching into the sky as if clawing for redemption. Its stained glass windows glowed ominously, casting eerie shapes that twisted on the ground like life was being drained from the very earth itself. They said at night, shadows mingled with the flickering lights, whispering about the preacher who vanished during a storm 50 years ago. Some swore they saw his ghost wandering the graveyard, looking for something he lost, or someone. Every month, the townsfolk gathered at the diner for their usual small talk, occasional laughter echoing in the stale air. But when the clock struck midnight on the full moon, the conversation took a dark turn. People spoke in hushed tones about the cursed woods on the edge of town, where it said the trees weep and the ground trembles under the secret weight of a tragedy long buried. One woman, with eyes wide like saucers, claimed to have heard the screams of the lost children who wandered too far, never to be found again. Her voice trembled as she described a flickering figure dancing among the shadows. You could feel the tension in the air, the way it crackled like static electricity. Each tale deepened the silence, pulling everyone into a gravity of fear. And just when you thought it couldn't get any creepier, the lights flickered and the door swung open with a groan. A gust of wind carried a chilling laughter that froze the blood in their veins. Who would be brave enough to step into the darkness? Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. A sudden silence fell, and with it, an unsettling question lingered. What waited outside in the cold embrace of the night? The diner, with its neon glow flickering like a heartbeat, felt like the only sanctuary. But the grip of fear tightened, as they could all feel it, a presence. Something north of the ordinary was approaching. Would they dare uncover the truth of Grave Hollow, or let it remain shrouded in mystery? Only the shadows knew what was coming next. The wind howled outside, whipping around the diner like a restless spirit demanding attention. The cozy warmth from the old wooden booths seemed to lose its comfort as the door creaked open wider, revealing a figure standing just beyond the threshold. For a moment, the diner stood frozen, eyes wide, breaths held. Then came a soft, hollow whisper. "Help me!" It drifted through the air like tendrils of smoke, curling around the townsfolk's hearts, squeezing tightly with unease. The flickering neon light caught the edges of the newcomer. A girl cloaked in shadows, her face gaunt, eyes like dark wells staring into the depths of despair. Who are you?" barked Old Man Jenkins, his voice a shaky whistle. He shifted in his seat, ready to bolt if need be. "Please," she murmured again, stepping inside, her feet barely making a sound on the grimy floor. "You must listen, the woods, they're awakening." A murmur rippled through the diner. It was Jake, the local skeptic, who chuckled nervously. "Awakening? What are you talking about, girl? The only thing in those woods is bad decisions and old stories." The girl's eyes flared with a flicker of anger, or perhaps desperation. "You don't understand. The trees can feel it's alive, and it wants something from you. You mustn't go, you can't." The sheer weight of her words gripped the hearts of the townsfolk. They exchanged glances, but their eyes quickly flicked back to the girl, caught between disbelief and fear. Then the lights dimmed further, enhancing the shadows that seemed to crawl across the windows. It was as though the diner itself was drawing closer to the edge of stillness, teetering on a precipice of panic. "Why should we believe you?" Tara, a high school teacher, spat back. "You could be another ghost story we don't need." A chilling laugh seemed to rise from the shadows as the diner door slammed shut, rattling cups and sending forks clattering. The girl recoiled, her breath hitching. It was only a moment before her expression shifted to one of dread. "They are here." Suddenly, all at once, the lights in the diner flickered, then died, plunging the room into darkness. A gasping silence enveloped them, the kind that clutched at the throat, squeezing out the last whispers of hope. One by one, they grabbed their phones, the screens casting an eerie glow, revealing faces etched with fear. "Keep the lights on. Keep talking," someone hollered. But it was the girl whose voice broke through, slicing through the thick tension like a knife. "The curse of the woods, the children they never left. They're drawing you in. You'll fall into the darkness if you don't turn back." The small group fell into chaos, panic rising like a tide. Jake cursed under his breath. "This is nuts. Let us just get out of here." But as they scrambled for the door, there was no escape. The wind picked up outside, swirling frantic and wild, as if the night itself was alive, blocking them from their freedom. Inside that dim space, breaths grew shallow, and hearts hammered like thunder. The feeling of being watched crawled up their spines, and it dawned on them that perhaps Grave Hollow had taken another victim. The girl's haunting plea echoed in their ears, twisted by the darkness. "Help me before it's too late." And just as fear gripped them, a chilling shriek pierced the air, twisting reality like a knife. What did she mean by "before it's too late"? As their hearts raced in the grip of terror, they understood. Some secrets might be too dangerous to uncover, and the woods were waiting for their next offering. As the darkness deepened, a familiar laugh echoed outside, unsettling and relentless. Who or what was watching them from within the trees? The air in the diner grew thick, almost suffocating, as if the shadows themselves conspired against the townsfolk. Fear washed over them like a cold wave, knocking the breath from their lungs. The frantic glow of the screens was no comfort. Each face reflected sheer panic, wide eyes darting, searching for solace that refused to come. Old Man Jenkins shook his head violently. "This isn't right. We need to get out." He pushed against the booth, the wooden legs scraping hellishly against the linoleum floor, but each frantic attempt only deepened their sense of despair. "Shoo," Tara whispered, her hand trembling as she placed it on his arm, trying to calm the brewing storm. "What if she's right? What if something is really out there?" She gestured to the darkened windows where the wind howled like a beast, dark tendrils of fear snaking through their minds. Jake rolled his eyes, but even his bravado was waning. "I don't believe in curses. It's just a kid giving us a scare." But even as he spoke, the laugh echoed again, clearer, closer, like a mocking chorus from the depths of the night. "It's the woods." The girl's voice trembled, breaking through the cacophony. "They want to protect their secrets. They won't let you leave." Her eyes flickered towards the back of the diner, where shadows gathered like storm clouds, merging and swirling together. Suddenly, a frantic pounding began at the diner door, a sharp, urgent rhythm that shattered the hold of silence. The girl gasped, clutching her head as if the sound pounded against her skull. "No, no, it can't be them." "What do you mean?" Jake shouted, pushing into the light of their phones, searching for answers in her haunted gaze. "What can't be?" As the pounding grew louder, a panic began to engulf Old Man Jenkins. What if it's the kids? What if he stopped? His voice trembling as the horrifying implications hung in the air, thick and heavy. "They're not just stories," the girl cried, her voice breaking. "They are real. You don't understand." Without warning, the diner's lights flickered back to life, but the brightness shone only a stark, blinding white. In that moment, they saw behind the girl the silhouettes pressing against the foggy glass of the diner windows, indistinct forms with hollow eyes watching hungrily. The wind howled, a voice threatening to spill over the edge of sanity. As they're gripped by terror, a door swung open at the back of the diner, revealing a pitch-black void that beckoned like a gaping mouth. "Run!" Tara screamed, and in an instant, chaos erupted. They surged towards the main door, But before they could reach it, it swung ajar, almost inviting them to escape, to plunge into the unknown. What about her? Jake yelled, torn between his instinct to flee and the girl who pleaded from the shadows. Come with us, Tara urged the girl, reaching her hand out. But something in the darkness behind them shifted, a shape darker than night, whispering promises that churned in their stomachs. I can't they'll take me, the girl screamed, her voice tearing through them, strangled by powerlessness. As the townsfolk hesitated, faced with this moral whirlwind, the figure at the door surged forward, elusive and swift as smoke. A chilling gust erupted through the diner, sweeping hearts into despair. The glow from their phones flickered erratically, the heartbeat of the diner now a frantic pulse of life. Before they could react, the girl lunged toward the void. You have to go. If you stay, you're trapped like me. As one, they rushed forward, but the unraveling of the night had begun. The air crackled with energy, the shadows stretching and swaying. The echoes of distant laughter morphed into a roaring cacophony, drowning out their thoughts. Just as they broke free into the cold night air, they turned back. The diner stood alive, but more sinister, the girl nowhere to be seen, swallowed whole by the darkness. Did we just leave her? Tara murmured, breathless. As the last vestiges of warmth slipped away in the distant woods, the trees twisted, whispering secrets only they could hear. And then, a voice trailed. Behind them, soft and desperate, fading into the wind. Help me, what was lurking in the night? And who among them was truly safe from the curse of Grave Hollow? The night air bit at their exposed skin, an icy grip that stole away the warmth they had brought from the safety of the diner. Tara, Jake, and Old Man Jenkins stumbled into the yawning emptiness, each breath heavier than the last. Shadows flickered in the trees like darkened fingers reaching out, eager to drag them back to the horrors they escaped. Did you hear that? Tara gasped, her eyes darting to the thickets. Every rustle sounded exaggerated, every whisper a menacing threat. It's like they're following us. Jenkins, his face pale and haggard, nodded. We shouldn't have left her. We've doomed her. Doomed? Jake retorted, his bravado fraying at the edges. What were we supposed to do? Stand there and let whatever evil that is take us to? But how can we just leave her in there? Tara's voice trembled, not entirely convinced. Her feet dug into the ground as if she could still feel the warmth of the diner beneath them, calling her back. As they moved toward the tree line, the shadows deepened, swallowing the light and creating a haze of confusion. Panic clutched at Jake's heart, tightening its hold while he tried to rationalize their next steps. He fumbled with his phone, bringing the screen to life to cut through the oppressive darkness. But the light trembled against the encroaching shadows, flickering like a dying ember. Let us go back, he yelled, clenching his fists, the courage running out. No, it's too late for her, Tara cried, fixating on the heavy silence pressing down around them. We can't afford to unravel ourselves. Just as the weight of dread felt insurmountable, a chorus of laughter erupted from the depths of the forest, chilling and high-pitched. It danced through the trees, cutting through the night. Tara recoiled, a shiver skittering down her spine, while Jenkins stumbled backward, gasping in disbelief. From behind a gnarled oak, a flicker of movement caught their eyes, an indistinct shape darting between trees, just out of reach. What was that? Tara shouted, fear clawing at her throat. I don't know, but we have to keep moving, Jake urged, his heart racing. They broke into a desperate sprint along the narrow path, dodging tree roots that threatened to trip them. The ground beneath them felt alive, as if it hungered for their fear. But the laughter returned, louder and more sinister, weaving through the branches like smoke. The air thickened with every step, weighing down on their limbs, filling their lungs with each breath of dread. Tara's feet faltered as her mind spiraled into dark thoughts. What if the girl was still out there? What if something worse awaited them back in the diner? Suddenly, a shadow ripped through the brush to their left, fast and fleeting, a child, ragged and wild-eyed, appearing like a specter. Help! Help me! Screamed. The voice was a mirror of the girl's, both familiar and haunting. "Tara, don't stop," Jake roared, dragging her forward. The child's pleas ricocheted off the trees, ricocheted through her mind, creating a cacophony of doubt that threatened to tear her apart. But was it a trap? Was this laughter that followed a signal, she wondered, her heart racing? In a heartbeat, Old Man Jenkins lost his footing, tumbling into the underbrush, his body disappearing under the ravenous darkness. "Help!" he cried, desperation bleeding into every syllable. "Don't look back. Keep running," Jake shouted at Tara, but she hesitated. Her heart felt like it was throttling in her chest. Should they turn back? Just as the decision weighed heavy, an unexpected dark figure emerged from the brush. But it wasn't the child. It was something more sinister, drawn from nightmares and tales told in hushed tones. A silhouette stood poised, watching them with wide, hollow eyes. Tara felt her breath hitch. A whisper built within her, a warning. But it was too late. What liminality had they crossed? What dark secrets had they resurrected when they fled? And could they ever escape? The curse of Grave Hollow? The silhouette stood unmoving, an ominous figure that seemed to drink in the darkness around it. Tara's heart thundered in her chest as fear coiled tightly in her stomach. She turned to Jake, desperation etched across her face. "What is that thing?" "I don't know, but we can't stay here," Jake shouted, spinning on his heel, his earlier bravado faltering. They couldn't let fear chain them in place. The laughter echoed again, a chorus of glee that shot an icy shard through Tara's veins. The figure stepped forward, and the moonlight revealed a ghastly visage, a child, maybe 9 years old, with dirt-caked cheeks and a mouth stretched into an impossibly wide grin. The laughter twisted into a long, drawn-out cackle. It was mocking them. "Help us!" the child shrieked, but there was no light in those hollow eyes. Only darkness stared back. Tara felt bile rise in her throat. "No, keep moving," she urged, grabbing Jake's arm as she lunged forward, pulling him along the path. The trees closed in, their branches like claws reaching for them. "Jenkins!" Jake yelled, the name bursting from his lips, a frantic prayer. But the shadow of the man remained nestled in the abyss of the underbrush, swallowed by the night. Tara squeezed her eyes shut, forcing herself to move past the vision of Jenkins' desperate face. They had to survive this. As they ran, the laughter morphed into whispers, taunting them with secrets of Grave Hollow that clawed at their minds. "You left her doomed. Just like him." The words dripped like poison, stinging her ears with each syllable. "Shut up," Tara screamed into the night, as if her voice could drown out the horrors chasing them. Every breath was a struggle. The weight of dread bore down until her legs were leaden, and every fiber of her reason screamed to stop. "What if we can't find our way?" Jake panted beside her, panic breaking his voice, laced with fear. "Just trust me," Tara barked, gritting her teeth as they veered left at a split in the path. The moon hung like a distant eye, watching their flight. Suddenly, a rustling arose from behind. It grew louder, clawing in the underbrush, gaining ground. Whatever it was coming for them. Tara could feel it in her bones, the shadow looming just beyond her vision. She dared to glance back. What she saw sent adrenaline surging through her veins, a mass of twisting figures twisting through the trees, hands reaching, faces mangled in grotesque torment, all of them demanding to be freed from the curse of Grave Hollow. "We need to split up," Jake shouted. "It might give us a chance." "No," Tara shook her head vehemently. "We stick together." But the laughter was all around now, drowning out reason, making their minds fray like worn fabric. The shadow creatures danced in the periphery, desire glittering in their hollow eyes. Then Jake tripped, falling hard, and Tara felt her heart drop. "Get up," she yelled, panic surging in her chest, her breath hitching as the chilling figures toyed with their prey. "I can't," he gasped, his leg caught under him, the dark unfolding around them like a tidal wave. "Tara, leave me." "No." She reached for him, grappling to pull him to his feet as the figures began to close in. As she strained against the pull of hopelessness surrounding them, the ground beneath her cracked, a crevice opening wide, almost beckoning her to plunge into its black maw. "Run!" A voice called out, resonating with a familiarity that sent chills through her. Her heart raced as she realized what it was: a woman. Someone they had left behind, her silhouette emerging briefly before being yanked back into the abyss. A wind rushed past them, and without thinking, Tara reached for Jake. "No!" He choked, an outcry bursting forth. The darkness roared, the laughter ascended, and just as Tara felt the grip of despair seize her, she dared to scream, "Hold on!" But what choice did they truly have? The crumbling ground awaited, and perhaps it did not seek to devour them alone. And maybe, just maybe, it hungered for someone more. As shadows swirled closer, they plunged forward. But would they emerge from the heart of the monster, or was this the end? Or perhaps an even deeper horror awaited them, buried just beneath the surface of the night. The world around them twisted into chaos as Tara yanked at Jake, her fingers slipping against the sweat-soaked fabric of his shirt. The shrieks from the shadows seemed to weave through the very air, tightening the knot of horror in her stomach. Every moment stretched like an eternity while the darkness clawed at them. "Please, get up," Tara shouted, barely able to keep the terror from her voice. She couldn't let him go, wouldn't he let him go. With a primal scream, Tara pulled harder, her muscles straining against the gravity of dread. The earth trembled beneath them, shifting, threatening to tear apart all around. Jake writhed with desperation, his leg trapped and twisted beneath him. But as the darkness drew near, a surge of adrenaline shot through him. I can't. He yelled back, and in that moment, the sound of his anguish ignited a fire within her. There was something inside, a fierce protectiveness that refused to succumb. Behind them, a figure lunged forward, glistening eyes of abyss drawing directly to Tara. It was the child, a sickening parody of innocence. "You left us," the voice screeched, and as it spoke, the laughter grew loud, echoing through Grave Hollow like a horrid symphony. "Stay away from us," Tara screamed, somehow mustering the strength from deep within. And with a mighty heave, she finally managed to pull Jake up, liquid pain coursing through his face as he joined her in fleeing. But more figures surged from the underbrush, grotesque, uncaring of the space they filled. Jake stumbled forward, supported only by Tara, who forced them both down the narrow path. Her heart thudded like a drum in her ears, each beat matching the rapid patter of their feet against the dirt. "Do you hear it?" Jake panted, barely keeping up, the sound of their pursuers pushing him to the edge of reason. "It's all around us." "I know," Tara shot back, shaking with fear, her eyes darting from side to side in frantic search of escape. They needed a way out, but the woods were alive, whispering secrets of despair she couldn't comprehend. Two paths split ahead. Fear gripped her throat, but she forced herself to think. Left would lead toward the deeper woods, where shadows mingled and suffocated hope. Right seemed to lead towards the ravine, a dangerous drop, but perhaps they could reach the edge and find some safety. "Left or right, Tara?" Jake's voice cracked. Heavy despair cloaked his words. She glanced back at the darkness swirling behind them, shimmering with its grasping fingers, and made a snap decision. "Right. We go right." Without waiting for a reply, she bolted. They streaked down the path, but the trees seemed to close in even tighter, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers desperate for their grasp. Tara's pulse raced, mind racing with thoughts of survival as they tore down the trail. Then, a thunderous crack filled the air, followed by a rush of cold wind that knocked them both off balance. The ground trembled again, and before she could react, the earth collapsed beneath them. Tara and Jake tumbled down the side of the ravine, hitting the hard ground, pain radiating through her body. Dazed, she gasped for breath, but as she regained her focus, her heart sank. The darkness loomed above, the laughter shrill and triumphant. Tara looked up, feeling the urgency in her veins as shadowy figures began their descent, drawn to the rift where they had fallen. "Just keep moving," Tara shouted, scrambling to her feet, adrenaline pushing her through the haze of pain. They didn't have time to wonder about the severity of their injuries. All that mattered was escape as they stumbled forward, Horror twisted into clarity. Among the twisted silhouettes, a familiar face pierced the shadows. It was Jenkins, his eyes wide and his hand outstretched. "Help me," he cried, but his voice now sounded hollow, consumed by the madness that surrounded them. "Don't look," Jake shouted, but Tara felt a pull, a sickening urge to reach out. A choice loomed before her, to save him or save themselves. But what if it wasn't just a choice of lives? What if the cost of their survival was more than they could bear? Tara hesitated, torn between two agonizing decisions. As the figures of darkness slithered closer, a new fear gripped her. What if Jenkins had already become one of them? And before she could resolve her thoughts, the shadows lunged, and all hope of escape seemed to shrivel away as the night swallowed them whole. Tara's heart raced as darkness closed in around them, a thick shroud of despair weighing down her every breath. The moment hung heavy in the cold air, suspended between choice and consequence. What would happen if she reached for Jenkins? Would she pull them all into the abyss? Then, a flash of determination ignited within her. "We need to move," she shouted, even as dread sank deep into her gut. She pulled Jake forward, his eyes darting toward the shadows that now seemed to pulse with malevolence. "Wait, Tara, what about Jenkins?" Jake's voice was strained, laced with panic. "No, we can't." The words burst from her lips like a lifeline. She forced her legs to carry them farther down the ravine. Behind them, a chorus of whispers rose, pleading and insistent, piercing through the laughter of the figures looming above. They pushed through underbrush that tangled around their ankles. The growls of unseen beasts echoed from the depths of the ravine, and Tara's lungs screamed for oxygen. "Jake, just focus on my voice," she urged. "Keep moving." The ground began to slope steeply, steep rocks jutting out at odd angles, each step a gamble. Blood pounded in her ears, drowning out the horrifying noises closing in from above, a cacophony of grief and fury. And with each frantic shove forward, a cold, insidious feeling crept over her. Were they really escaping, or just delaying the inevitable? An unsettling thought danced at the edges of her mind. What if they were cursed to wander these woods forever, twisted like a blade, deeper and deeper? She couldn't dwell on that. There wasn't time. Suddenly, the shadows above stopped their advance. A sinister pause that sent icy tendrils crawling along Tara's spine. She hesitated just long enough to glance back. Jenkins was still there, the twisted remnants of his form unfurling from the darkness, a marionette in the hands of something far more sinister. Dark laughter bubbled up like poison, as if it were feeding on the anguish of her indecision. "Run!" Jake's voice shattered her reverie. He pulled her forward with desperation, his grip fierce and almost fierce enough to remind her they were not alone. They stumbled upon an opening in the ravine, a small clearing that stretched out like a promise. Tara's breath hitched in her throat. It seemed almost serene. The air was thick with a strange, floral scent that belied the terror of the chase. "Is this?" Tara paused, doubt zapping her urgency. Could this lead us out? Before she could form a complete thought, another rumble cut the air. The ground beneath them vibrated with a seismic tremor, and from beneath the foliage, something stirred. A shudder ran through the earth, and the shadows began to blend and swirl, their shapes undulating like grotesque smoke. "Keep moving," Jake screamed, his eyes wide with the realization that safety had never been as close as they hoped. But as they rushed forward, a figure emerged from the shadows in front of them, blocking their escape. It was tall, cloaked in darkness, with eyes that seemed to swallow light and existence. Tara froze, a chill coursing through her veins. The laughter grew louder, echoing around them like an invocation. "Why do you run, Tara?" the figure rasped, the voice chillingly familiar. "You can't change what's already been written." Jake turned and grasped Tara's arm, his eyes pleading for an answer, but she couldn't respond. What did it mean? 1,000 questions revolved in her mind, each more horrible than the last. "Choose," echoed the figure, its form shifting, dissolving into 1,000 eyes, 1,000 memories. Tara felt the weight of their escape pressing down on her chest. Was it time to confront the truth? As darkness surged toward them once more, she felt suspended between hope and despair. The shadows closed in like a ravenous beast, hunger gleaming in the depths of those crimson eyes. With all her strength, she pulled Jake close, whispered a promise into the chaos, then launched them into the shadows. But as they plunged deeper within, Tara's heart pounded with a new fear. Beneath the surface, what awaited hope or ruin? And as they dissolved into the darkness, one thought pierced her mind. Would they find salvation, or become another haunting in the tale of Grave Hollow? They plunged into the darkness, the crushing weight of despair pulling them deeper, pressing closer like a vice. Tara's panic-fueled footsteps echoed against the damp earth, but hope flickered faintly in the back of her mind. They had to keep going. Darkness loomed around them, thick and malevolent, wrapping like a serpent ready to strike. Faster! Jake urged, his breath ragged and sharp. The sounds of the chase faded into a distant hum, replaced by a haunting silence that felt more oppressive than the pursuit. Tara couldn't shake the feeling they had crossed a line. The shadows now extended far beyond the dimness of the trees. What had they unleashed? Her thoughts darted to Jenkins and the figure that had risen from the void. Why do you run, Tara? The words rattled in her mind like a lament, tethering her to a sobering truth. She gripped Jake's hand tighter. The warmth of his skin was a lifeline against the encroaching chill. We need to find shelter, she gasped, scanning the dim landscape for anything resembling safety. Ahead, a flicker of light bounced off the underbrush. A lantern? Tara squinted, her heart leaping at the glimmer. This way. She pulled Jake toward the source, hope rekindling with each hurried step as they neared. It became clear. A small cabin sat nestled among the trees like a secret. Its wooden walls were worn but intact, the glow of warm light spilling from the windows, illuminating the surrounding gloom. It felt like a beacon, a haven in the heart of the storm. They stumbled to the door, knocking desperately, fingers trembling. A moment passed like an eternity of dread before the door creaked open. An elderly woman stood there, a half-smile under her weary eyes, curiosity dancing with caution. "Come in quickly," she urged, her voice a raspy whisper that seemed to slice through the tension. Without waiting for another word, Tara rushed inside, pulling Jake along. The interior was cozy, filled with the aroma of herbs, a stark contrast to the darkness encasing the outside world. Tara leaned against the wall, chest heaving, while Jake locked the door behind them. "What is this place?" Tara whispered, glancing at the woman who now busied herself by the fireplace, stoking the flames. "Safe," the woman replied, her gaze steady, "but not free from the shadows. They will come for you." "Who?" Jake's voice trembled. "What do you mean, they?" "Those you left behind," she trailed off, her eyes darkening. "They will not let you escape so easily." A chill gripped Tara's spine. The laughter and whispers from the shadows echoed through her memory. "Jenkins," she murmured, shaken. "His fate entwines with yours," the woman stated cryptically, her voice low. "You've turned your back on a bond, a choice that cannot be undone." Tara was engulfed by the weight of her decision. Had she truly abandoned him? Or was there a way to save them all? Guilt twisted inside her, battling against survival. Just then, a rattle echoed from outside. A cacophony of whispers began to swirl, clawing at the cabin walls like restless spirits. Tara's heart raced again, pounding as if it would break through her ribs. The woman stepped closer, raising a hand. "You must face them." "Face who?" Jake asked, panic rising, but the woman only nodded toward the window, her features grim. The door creaked ominously as shadows began to seep through the cracks, the darkness coaxing its way into the warm light. Tara felt a heavy dread settle in her stomach. "What if they find us?" she questioned, fear lacing her voice. "Then you must decide," the woman said, her gaze unwavering. "Choose your next move wisely." Tara swallowed hard, turning toward the door. Was it time to confront the truth she had run from? The darkness outside pressed closer, as if waiting for the moment she would step back into the void. They were not just battling for their lives, but for the dignity of every choice made and unmade. She took a deep breath, heart pounding, as the whispers grew louder. The very fabric of her being screamed to run, but deep inside, a fire ignited. Was it resolve or madness? As the shadows gathered outside, Tara felt the pull of fate closing in. Would she step into the light and face her demons, or shrink back into the darkness that had clawed at her heels? The answer hung in the air, electric and terrifying, and only one choice remained. What choice would ignite the true nature of her bond with Jenkins, or seal her fate forever? The whispers roared outside, a cacophony that twisted Tara's insides. The woman leaned closer, her voice like gravel. They sense your fear, your uncertainty. You need to stand strong or risk losing everything. Tara nodded, but doubt gnawed at her determination. What if I can't? Then it's not just your life at stake. The woman gestured to the cabin walls, palpable with history. This place, it has layers. Ghosts of choices made long before you came here. You must confront the reality you tried to escape. Just as fear settled in the pit of Tara's stomach, a loud bang reverberated, making the door shudder on its hinges. Jake jumped, eyes wide, clutching Tara's arm tightly. What's happening out there? The shadows have come, the woman whispered, sinking into a focused calm while the light from the fireplace flickered crazily. They can't come in unless you let them. A shadow shifted on the ground, elongating as more whispered promises dashed through the air. Tara, Tara? Come to us. The familiar tone twisted her gut, a memory of tranquility, now scraping against hope. Jenkins's voice. Tara's heart raced, a raw blend of fear and memories. What do they want? She breathed, her eyes darting to the door as the wind howled outside, a harbinger of doom. They want to remind you, the woman said softly, drawing Tara's attention back, of the choice you made. You cannot just forget him. She moved across the room, her gaze fixed on the door as it trembled in its frame, as if alive, resonating with the whispers crescendo. What choice? Jake spat, the tension in the room palatable. We can't just stand here. He moved closer to the door, ready to burst out, but Tara grabbed his arm, anchoring him. It's not just about us, Tara said hoarsely, recalling the fear that had sparked her flight. It's about Jenkins too. He's trapped because of me. The woman's eyes bore into Tara's, an intensity that demanded understanding. Choosing is a powerful act. It gives life to possibilities and leaves many behind. Look within yourself for the truth, Tara. Just then, another forceful knock erupted through the door like thunder. The old wood protested, groaning against the pressure. Tara, please, let me in. It was Jenkins's voice again, twisted and desperate. Tara, you can't leave me. Tara felt her skin crawl. She had run from him once, abandoning the very tie that bound them. The memories surged, shared laughter, fragile promises. Suddenly, resolve sparked in her chest. I can't be a coward again, she whispered fiercely. I won't abandon him. He deserves a chance. Jake's face reflected confusion and fear. You can't. He's in danger. The danger has come because of me, Tara shouted, fire igniting in her voice. I have to face it. If I don't, he'll never have a chance to escape. The old woman nodded slowly, her expression a mixture of pride and concern. Then open the door. Let your choice unfold. The whispers outside grew hauntingly sweet, each word pulling at Tara's very soul. She took a step towards the door, her heart beating like a war drum, each thump mantling layers of anxiety. Are you sure? Jake's words were tense, fraught with foreboding. I have to be, Tara replied, voice steadying. It was time to confront the shadows, time to embrace the gravity of her decisions. She reached for the handle, her palms slick with sweat. But the moment she grasped it, a violent gust shuddered through the cabin. The woman stepped back, her eyes widening as an unseen force pressed against the door, rattling the very foundation. Tara braced herself, breath hitching in the chaos. They wanted her to open up, to let the shadows into her world. Would she let them in to face her fears, or allow the darkness to consume her entirely? As the door rattled once more, a piercing scream cut through the air, a terrible sound that ripped through the night. It was Jenkins. "Open the door, Tara. Please." What if she unlocked not just the door, but a flood of choices that would change everything? The air crackled with anticipation, the weight of uncertainty brewing. Tara's heart thundered in her chest, the knife edge of choice coiling around her. Would she dare to break through the darkness for love or succumb to fear? The answer lingered just beyond the threshold, waiting for the moment she would step through. Tara inhaled sharply as she gripped the doorknob tightly, the world outside the cabin pulsing with a dissonant rhythm of whispers and cries. "Open the door, Tara. Please." Jenkins's desperate plea echoed in her ears, pulling her closer to the threshold. Each pang of longing, each cry of sorrow, reminded her of the bond they once shared. Every laughter at the diner, every shared secret under starry skies crashed against the walls of self-doubt she had built. Could she truly walk away from that? Or would she doom him to the shadows forever? "Do it," the old woman urged, the firelight casting her as a guardian against the chaos brewing outside. "You have the strength to face what awaits." Tara's heart raced. Could she bear it? The uncertainty gnawed. Fear of what lay beyond threatened to suffocate her. Yet guilt wound tighter around her until it became an unbearable weight. "I can't be a coward again," she whispered to herself, reciting a mantra against the darkness. Jake shifted uneasily behind her, voice trembling. "Please, Tara, don't." But she couldn't ignore the longing clawing inside her. With newfound resolve, she turned to Jake and met his frightened gaze. "This is my choice, our choice." Before she could second-guess herself, she gripped the knob and twisted. The door swung open with a gust that howled like a forsaken spirit. The laughter outside rose to a fever pitch, swirling around her as if it were a ritualistic welcome. Tara stepped forward into the abyss, Jake beside her. Though his hand trembled against her back like a tiny lifeline, the darkness enveloped them, scraping against her skin like a cold wind. Memorable whispers clawed at her mind. "You left us. You forgot us. Jenkins!" Tara cried, desperation flooding her voice. She had come back to pull him from whatever curse had held him captive. A choice made with every fiber of her being. Then silence fell, stifling, palpable. The kinds of moments that demanded reflection echoed for what felt like forever. Suddenly, the shadows retreated, allowing a glimmer of light to break through. The pallid outline of Jenkins emerged from within. His figure appeared taller, sharper than before, hollow yet charged with a heart-wrenching longing. "You came for me," he shouted, his voice full of surprise and need. "I won't abandon you again," Tara replied, stepping closer, heart pounding as she reached out. The shadows shifted, swirling, forming grotesque faces and anguished expressions in futile attempts to engulf them both. "Together," Jake shouted, grasping Tara's hand with fervor. But Jenkins hesitated, his form warbling like steam above the boiling water, his eyes glancing back to the shadows. "The curse, it taints everything it touches." Ignoring the rising fear crashing within her, Tara refused to yield. "We can break it together. We just have to face it." As if in response, the shadows coalesced angrily, thrumming through the ground and vibrating the very air. "Choose, Tara. Choose," they screamed, their voices entwining with Jenkins's. Tara turned to him, fear mirrored in his eyes, but love flickered brighter than any fear could oppose. "This doesn't have to be our end. Don't let them tear us apart." With one last mighty effort from within, Tara lunged forward, grasping Jenkins's hands tightly. She felt him grow warmer under her touch, flesh and spirit intertwining as the shadows recoiled. With one powerful voice, she shouted, "We choose life. We choose each other." The ground trembled. The chunks of darkness began to shatter, revealing the radiant light of the cabin behind them. The shadows shrieked, twisting into vapor and rising like smoke, dispersing into the night sky. In that fleeting moment, Tara could see a landscape free from Chain's children playing in sunlight, laughter ceasing centuries of anguish. "You did it," Jake gasped, his eyes wide, and for the first time, The shadows began to fall away completely. The cacophony of whispers faded, replaced by a profound stillness. Tara opened her eyes, breathless, looking around. Jenkins stood next to her, whole, freed from the haunting grip of Grave Hollow. The air felt lighter, no longer cloying but crisp and alive. They had survived. "I thought you were lost," he murmured, his voice steadying through her trembling heart. "No more running," she answered, smiling as life began to bloom around them, reclaiming the space where shadows once lingered. They turned back toward the cabin, a soft glow outlining the figure of the old woman who met them with gentle eyes. "You broke the chains, my sweet child. Your love has conquered the curse." The trio stepped inside the cabin, feeling warmth wrap around them like a long-lost embrace. Tara glanced back at the wilderness that had once inflicted terror, filled with the knowledge that they had faced darkness together and emerged stronger. The once mournful echoes began to fade into the soft breeze, the laughter of children now an anthem of hope. In that moment of renewal, they knew the curse of Grave Hollow was broken. They were no longer victims but conquerors, free to write their own stories. Together, they settled into a new beginning. Now that you've read this thrilling conclusion, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support keeps us going, and only true fans understand how important it is.